Hey, this is Ryan Harms with the Social Executive. Today I have Darrell Heaps with me from Q4 Web Systems. Darrell, thank you for joining me.
My pleasure. How's it going?
Oh, it's going pretty good. You know, it's year's off to a good start. So basically, for the audience out there, Darrell is, as far as I'm concerned, really the thought leader when it comes to social media and public companies and how public companies are using social media to interact with their investors. He comes up with a report, I believe quarterly, on the amount of the number of public companies using Twitter and how they're using it. So I wanted to invite Darrell and have him speak to everybody today because of his expertise. And so, you know, Darrell, why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself and what you do at Q4 Web Systems?
Sure. Well, thanks very much for that introduction. It's very kind. What we do at Q4, I'm one of the co-founders and the CEO of Q4, and Q4 is a software as a service platform that runs corporate and investor relations websites. And increasingly over the last year or so, we've really seen a trend in terms of the adoption of social media, things like Twitter and Facebook and YouTube and blogging, in the investor relations space, and that's really caused our platform to evolve to being as much of a kind of a communication platform for public companies and how they're managing not only their website but also their online communications. And we spend a lot of time doing, as you mentioned, we put out a report on a quarterly basis in regards to how companies use Twitter for investor relations, and we also do a pretty consistent blogging trying to cover what are the trends and best practices in terms of corporate and investor relations websites, and also the use of the investor relations. We do that on our blog at Q4 Blog.
Great. Yeah, and I read the blog all the time. I recommend people read that if they have any interest on that subject. So as far as social media and you know and public companies and their shareholders, you know, besides Twitter, what is, you know, having an interaction with public companies, you know, what's kind of the feeling that you're getting from public companies? Are they sort of dipping their toes into the pool? Are they still sort of really kind of think it's too risky? You know, what's the general mood you think of your clients and the people in the industry?
So I think, you know, across the industry, you get every flavor. So there certainly is a good chunk of companies out there that are still on the sidelines and are waiting to really jump in. And then you have people on the complete other side of the spectrum that have really embraced all these channels and really are investing in it and gaining value from it. I think what really determines whether a company is using these channels is if they're looking to affect change. So whether that change is something like it's a small cap company that no one knows about. So the reason why they're going to use these channels is to increase awareness and find new investors. Or on the other side of the spectrum, if it's a large company and they're trying to deal with something like a reputational issue, or they want to be able to protect their brand, or to deal with activist investors or something like that out on the web. Those are the ones that have used these channels because it's really, if you're looking to influence kind of public opinion or shape the perception of your company, social media is the way that those are the tools of today that enables you to do that. So I think a lot of the companies that have sat on the sidelines have been relatively happy with their position. So, you know, they're happy with theirs, not really looking to make any changes. They're happy with their brand, and they're taking more of a reactive approach.
Right.
Whereas the companies that are more proactive are the ones that are really leveraging the channels more. And we're seeing companies use, Twitter is one of the ones that we did the research on because it was very efficient to do the research. You know, we can kind of track everything on Twitter, do all the searches on Twitter and find everything. But increasingly what our plans are for that report is to expand it to include all the channels of social media. So we've seen a lot of really interesting things in Facebook.
Right.
And also Seeking Alpha, and I know that one of the clients that you work with, that you just started with Seeking Alpha, and so I think that Seeking Alpha is an interesting channel that we're certainly going to watch. I think there's a lot of opportunity there. And then the use of YouTube. You know, we're seeing a lot of companies really kind of embrace video and start to use video as a main communication component. So those are kind of the main platforms that we've seen.
Got it. Great. And so at what point do you think that we're going to see a mass adoption of these social media tools? Or will there be a point? I mean, will there be a time when do you foresee a time when every public company either has a social media engagement strategy, or do you think that it's going to be a while where you're going to have different camps of people and how they approach it?
I certainly think we're still, last year was certainly the very early adopters and starting to use these channels. I think I certainly feel confident in that trend is only going to continue. Any of the tracking that we're doing, we're only seeing numbers move up. So we're seeing more companies use it. I think, everything is very peer driven. So you have a particular company that's in a particular industry. If no one else in the industry is using any of these channels, then they don't really, then there's no movement there. But as soon as you get one, then the competitors come on, and that's what really drives the adoption. And we're starting to see that in certain sectors. Like we've worked with some companies in the gold sector for a while. And when you have like the biggest gold company using social media channels like YouTube and Twitter and so on, all their competitors follow pretty quickly. So I think that's what we're starting to see now. So I think to answer your question, when will we see full mass adoption? I think we're probably always going to follow the PR and marketing side by like 3 or 4 years, 3 to 5 years. So we're just starting to see the marketing application, social media from a marketing perspective, really becoming mainstream. I think that's really where we're at now. So I think we're probably 3 to 5 years behind that from the IR perspective, really driven primarily because of regulation. Companies simply can't test with the same freedom as they do in marketing in a regulated market like investor relations.
Got it. And so, as you mentioned last year with the early adopters, what do you think are going to be the trends for 2010? Is this going to be a year where we're going to start seeing some pretty heavy adoption? And in general, what do you see as really the future of this, and how is it really going to be beneficial for the public companies and the investors?
I think it comes back again to the whole point that if the company is looking to affect change in their company. So we've seen some small cap companies that are virtually unknown really embrace social media channels and really push using them, and they've achieved great results. And so in terms of an adoption of small cap companies looking for awareness, I think with the right help and the right tools, they can really gain a huge amount of benefits from using social media. And then on the other side, when you look at like big companies looking to protect their reputation or their brand or so on, you're either dealing with companies that are proactive, the ones that are out there and they're trying to front run the issue, or front run potential issues, or you deal with companies that are reactive, and we have some clients that have been reactive in that state where they've chosen to not do anything. But then they get into a situation where like an activist, environmental activist, or an investor, a shareholder activist starts using social media to really kind of come at that company. Mm-hmm. And in that situation, that reactive company is then forced into using these tools. Right. So I think that's kind of I think what we're seeing. So, and I think it's going to happen in pockets. When will we see will be mass adoption that everyone across the investor relations space and all public companies will say, okay, we're in full bore and we're going to do everything? I don't think that's going to happen. It's going to happen in pockets as people understand how to get value from it.
Okay, well, great. I've taken enough of your time. Thank you so much, Darrell, for speaking today. And hopefully we'll have you back on again soon.
Absolutely. My pleasure, Ryan. Take care.
All right. Thanks, Darrell. Bye-bye.